Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Thick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, and Dennis Thick with you this morning. If you thought last season of Trump and the rest list was good, this season is even better because forget China. We've got a trade war now with Mexico. Yes, that is going to be our lead story today, leading the markets downward. We're going to talk about the implications of Trump's tweets from last night, as I'm sure you've seen by now. We have some other stuff too. We have some earnings to discuss. We have Uber's earnings as well. But Mexico is going to be the lead story today, and we'll kind of walk through how that is reverberating throughout the market throughout the show. Our guest today, Michael Sonnenshein. He was on our show about a year and a half ago. He is with the GBTC Grayscale Investments. He will join us at 8:35 to talk about Bitcoin. We've been talking about how Bitcoin goes up on the weekends, so figure it's a Friday. Good day to get him on for that. In the meantime, Joel, what's happening here?
We got some major red on the screen. S&P's down 31.75 at 58.75. We were just hanging out at unchanged at 90.50 when the news hit. Pre-market high 27.91. Doubt we'll see that today. On the downside, 53.75 is your pre-market low. We have an intraday low right at that area, 55 even. So there's a target on the downside. Beyond that is your March 11th, actually, Globex low at 41.25. So if you're looking for more downside, that's 18 handles away. Crude in the red by $1.14 at 55.45, continuing to crater. Gold finally getting a pop here, up $10.20 at 1302.60, but silver doesn't care. It's down just a little over a penny here at 1446. A little nervousness in the Bitcoin market. That's down 317.50 at 82.70. But of course, we have the Saturday bump in that. But Triple D, I'm going to bring you in. We got a lot to discuss, but I got to tell you something. It's very important. Triple D, are you there?
Yeah, what's up? Tell me. Talk to me.
I just got a text from Jason, and he says that this has to be our last show because, Trump is putting a tariff on our show because we are we're giving Canadians too many good trading ideas.
Yeah, and he heard there's a few people in Mexico watching too, so tariff on the show as well.
Yep. So what are we gonna do?
The free show is gonna now have tariffs on it too. So 3 times tariff is still free, I guess, but it's unbelievable. So I chose the wrong night to play hockey, and I don't know if Trump knows it or not, but I think he's done this before. Thursday nights, I'm out from 6 to 8. Those are the 2 hours that I don't have covered basically after hours because I play hockey on Thursday nights. Anyways, absolutely wrong night to play hockey because I think I would have cleaned up on this tweet, and you were just analyzing how slow the market was to respond to this. You didn't have to be a high-frequency trader to make money off this last night. You just had to be sitting at your screen at 7:30 when the Trump stir comes out with the Twitter with the tweet of the night, and give it to us, Spencer Israel. Read this tweet.
Read it to you? Okay. 7:30 on the nose. 7:30 on the nose here.
I'm so depressed.
On June 10th, the U.S. will impose a 5% tariff on all goods coming into our country from Mexico until such time as illegal migrants coming through Mexico and into our country stop. The tariff will gradually increase until the illegal immigration problem is remedied, at which time the tariffs will be removed. Details from the White House to follow.
That was at 7:30. Bring up the S&P futures charts because at 7:30, they were trading flat. In fact, at 7:31, they were still trading flat. I don't know. All the high-frequency traders, they're pretty lazy. I guess they don't work at 7:30 at night because they weren't all over this headline. It took a long time to respond. Talk about the S&P futures trading action because it was slow off of this tweet.
Yeah, I just looked at it on the 1 minute and 731, 730. I mean, it was just hanging out. It went down a few points. And then I think by 738, 739, then it started to go down. But
8 minutes.
Yeah,
High frequency traders, what are you guys doing out there? 8 minutes. You guys are spending millions of dollars putting these things to shave 13 milliseconds. You got 8 minutes, man, there. I don't know what's going on, but they were all sleeping at the wheel. I tell you, if I was at my desk, I'd have cleaned up. But obviously not at the desk.
I had a similar situation. I didn't have any orders out or anything, and I went to my nephew's baseball game, and I'm like, I leave for the game at like 7:15. Let's booze it down a couple.
There was nothing happening.
Yeah, and then
Boring.
I pull it up at like 10, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, what did Trump tweet? And then, sure enough, I found out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the algos are probably, I don't know, sleeping at the wheel here.
Oh, the algos weren't even at their desk. I guess they were all playing hockey too.
Yeah, or watching the nephews.
Anyways, unbelievable. If you're at your desk, congratulations, because you had 8 minutes to respond to this tweet. That is an eternity for anybody, not only the algos. So forget about the 8 milliseconds. You had 8 minutes. That's craziness. Anyways, so here is, obviously we responded now because it's obviously 12 and a half hours after. So market down significantly here. Let's talk the market. Let's talk who is getting hit. Who has the most exposure to Mexico? Which stocks? I mean, automatically you think, okay, well, EWW is going to take a spanking on this. And that is indeed the case. It's trading down 6% here in the pre-market. Spencer Israel has a list of Mexico ETFs. They're all going to be priced now. This is all priced in.
Well, there actually aren't that many. Yeah, the EWW is the big one in terms of
it's the most liquid one.
Assets and liquidity. MEXX is a leveraged play, so more of a trading vehicle, not super.
It's down 14%.
Okay, that's a little bit thinner. FLMX is a smaller name, so I doubt. I haven't even looked at that.
I don't even know if that trades.
Yeah, it might not have trade.
Luck.
As far as
that doesn't trade. Don't trade that. You will never get out. Okay. That's a thin one. Yeah, Roach Hotel. You think you're getting a good price, and then you realize the spread's 10 points wide, and you got to hold it for 10 years to get out of it. Watch some of these smaller ETFs. You got to really watch them. It's a good lesson.
Yes.
The liquidity in some of these are non-existent, and you could get stuck holding something or paying like a 5% spread to get out. So you got to be really careful with some of these thinner ones. This FLMX looks like it trades by appointment only. Had 5 trades yesterday.
So you can also go into these ETFs and look at their top holdings, and a lot of them are OTC. So again, trade with caution there. Mm-hmm. As far as individual names, the U.S. listed stocks, ADRs, just going off a list that we came up with this morning here. AMX, CVGW is interesting. That's an avocado play. And
avocados.
Yeah.
Is that where all our avocados come from? Is Mexico?
Yeah.
Holy, is that Brentster giving us this one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Holy, Brentster, you're doing good work over there on this Benzinga news desk.
Here.
The avocado stock has not traded down yet, but I can tell you it is offered down, so somebody is already on it. CVGW is offered at $88 right now, and nobody is lifting this, so it's going to go down too.
How about CMG?
Chipotle Mexican Grill. You know what? You're on to something, Joel. It's down 1.7%. So they are hitting Chipotle Mexican Grill. Anything in Mexico in the title is getting hit, but anything also with automotive is getting hit here too. And this is where we're going to segue. The autos get their parts from Mexico. This is like ground zero. General Motors down 5.2%. Ford down 3.9%. Lear is trading down 5.3%, which is LEA. Delphi, DLPH, down 8.5%. American Axle, AXL, down 3.5%. Magna has just traded down 3.8%. MGA, it's also traded in Canada. Visteon, VC has not traded, but I can tell you it is going to be down. There is significant offers at 46.25, which is down over 4% from the close, and nobody's lifting those offers. So if you think you're going to safe from Visteon, it is not the case. It is going to be down significantly as well. Automotive's not looking good.
Look at the top exports from Mexico. Their top exports are
autos and avocados.
Yeah, cars, vehicle parts, and delivery trucks are their top 3 exports, followed by computers and crude. So,
yikes! This is ground zero, guys. And you look here at the Ford. I'll tell you something. The GM and Ford charts weren't good coming in. And now they're going to look a lot worse after today. GM's $33. So everybody who was buying and thinking that in that April that GM was coming back, Not the case. GM's back down, and we got to go back up to the monthlies. We're getting back down to the 2018 lows. And really, when you look at it, this has gone nowhere for 5 years now, GM.
Boy, I tell you, I was waiting for Ford to fill this gap here from earnings. You know, it had that earnings gap, and I was waiting for it to take 953. And the other day, it got down to 955. It had a nice bounce. So you're getting a reset on the stock right before earnings. The pre-earnings day low was 934, closed at 940, and added a stick the next day. So that was my plan here, but I didn't anticipate this kind of news. That's trading down 4%, GM down 5.5%. So opening into support. I mean, that's what it is in Ford. I don't know if I'm going to be buying it, but there it is on the charts. Technically, it's going into support. GM just
$9 on Ford. I'm going to say, I'm going to say just with this news here, and people were loving Ford a few weeks ago there when they thought, oh, it's a turnaround story, but it got out that 1050, and we talked about this. It's like it can't get over 1050. You know, so many times we talked about it, Joel. Like, look at the charts.
I kept asking you what was there.
Couldn't get over it. We talked about it, and we were saying you can't really get bullish until it takes out 1050. It never did. It could have put the short on there and been reaping the benefits. Now it's at 934. So sometimes these levels are so significant that they just cannot get through them. And yeah, we did cite some sellers there. I mean, but for whatever reason, it just could not get through there. And it's turned now. Obviously, there's other issues that they've got going. The dividend is attractive here, but, you know, with a whole new now spin here with, you know, tariffs going on Mexico. And I don't know, like let's talk about this thing for a second, this tweet. I mean, how in the hell are they going to stop the illegal immigrants from coming over? It's not like they can just stop this.
That's another thing. It's another thing.
Be stopped.
This problem has never been solved by anyone ever in history.
No, and now he's saying they're going to keep imposing tariffs until it stops. Well, what do you think? The people of Mexico are going to not migrate because they care? They don't want Mexico to have tariffs? This is silliness, man. There is absolutely no way you can stop it like this. I mean, he wants the wall. He's trying to find some way for them to pay for the wall. So I guess he thinks tariffs are going to pay for the wall. But you know who's going to get hurt? Is everybody who works those automotive companies.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if we could snap our fingers and solve illegal immigration, we would have done that by now, right? It's not.
Yeah, I mean, you can build a wall all you want. They're still going to find a way. Yeah, it would help, sure, but you're going to spend all this money on a wall. There's a lot bigger problems you can deal with too. So I don't know. It's all craziness to me. This tweet is craziness, but and with the markets, you know, this is what we've talked about when we were actually just talking. You know, you wonder, eh? Because Trump tweets hadn't had as much impact lately. We were saying that on the show the last couple of days. Well, he found a way to have impact. He fooled us. Even Karen Feiderman said it on CNBC Fast Money last night. Maybe he was watching Fast Money. He was angry about that. But he was saying the Trump tweets, she said this on last night. Same thing we've been saying, that Trump tweets just aren't impacting the market as much as they were before. I'm parsing her words a bit, but she basically said that on Fast Money. Maybe Trump saw that. He's like, well, I'll find a way for my tweets to impact this. Watch this. Boom! 7:30 last night. Here you go. Market's down 1%.
Yeah, 1.18%. So do we want to do technicals on some of these autos here? Do you just want to use the...
I mean, you can if you want. Like, I think let's start looking at the big numbers. So I don't know. Like, if this stays and these tariffs go into effect and it stays for a while, it's terrible for these companies. So we already have precedents here. We saw what happened the day they announced the trade war with China. And, you know, we were down that day. Well, since then, all of those Chinese stocks have been hit continuously, really. I mean, Alibaba's still making new lows. It was 190. That day it came out. It's 150 now. So if you're going to be a hero and come on day one and buy GM and Ford because you think it's silly, I agree with you. The tweet is silly, but, I mean, it could stay out of favor for a while, these stocks. I'm not going to be a hero and say I'm going to call the bottom. Yeah. Nope.
STZ also trade down this morning. We have talked about the alcohol exposure. But
oh, wow, good call. You guys are all over it. News desk, Benzinga.
That was a comment. I think JP Morgan has flagged some concerns regarding their exposure.
And that's because Constellation Brands gets what alcohol? What percentage of their alcohol?
They own Corona. Don't they own Corona?
Yeah, but is that just Corona play? Is there other stuff that's coming from Mexico?
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's go look at their brands. Constellation Brands. It's an interesting Google. You got to go Constellation Brands.
All right, so
Try to
other tickers I have on my list here: CX, TV, IBA, BSMX.
Oh yeah, there looks like a lot of stuff
I
coming.
haven't looked at all these honestly. I'm just throwing some names out there: KOF, PAC, ASR. Just throwing some names out there.
Nice. Yeah, so these are the actual Mexican companies. These ones.
Yep.
But that Constellation Brand's a great call though, because I just looked at all their brands. There's a pile of them that come from Mexico. So this is another ground zero too. You know what? ST Zebra's a stock that I've wanted for a while, and I missed it the first time around. That thing gets down to $160, $155. I'm gonna probably buy it, but because I missed the first time around, and obviously it's come back down significantly, showing you again the last couple years you have not had to really chase. You seem to get chances again and again and again. And I mean, we know the S&Ps really, when you look at it from the last 2 years, we really haven't gone anywhere. Like we went up, we went down, we kind of yo-yoed a bit, but we cannot get up over the 2,800 area, which we've struggled at multiple times. And there's always some catalyst bringing us back down. So I don't know. I think Constellation Brands comes back down to 150. We're 175 here. I don't think there's any reason to strike early, at least not right now. I see a lot of air all the way down to at least 170. Start to get 165, starts to get interesting.
Trading down in the pre-market trading, STZ, you do have someone bringing in a little bit of stock here. You're trading down, what, $12.50. Let me go to the pre-market chart here to give you the pre-market low. And the pre-market low is right here, right now. Your low is 174.80, and your last print is one. Is it offered there, Dennis, or what's it a type? It's not a tight market in this.
Pretty tight. Offered 175.95, 174.80. So offers 176, 176.45, 176.99. It's telling you there's lots of offers. This isn't just like a one trade deal. This is priced pretty efficiently here right now. You're looking at this thing down 12 points. It's probably opening down $12.
All right. I do see, I'm just going to give you an area here. I'll call 168 because I see 4 lows, 5 low, 5, let's call it 168 even. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lows between like 167 and 170. So there's a potential area for today for support in Constellation Brands. And I didn't look at the GM chart. This is, boy, that $40 is a wall here. GM way
40's long gone.
Yeah, 40's long
Start
gone.
talking about the 30 support.
32.20. I'd get a little interested here in GM today. It's currently, it's not going to trade down 273 today.
Why not? It's already down this much. Why not? I'm not being a hero. I'm buying any of these things. This is ground zero. So I think eventually you're going to get GM a shot back at $30.
Wow.
Down there. I'm not saying today. I'm saying if you're striking early in your long-term account, I think you're going to get a shot at 30 on this.
Well, we will see. You want to do a couple of earnings reports here, and or you want to stay on Mexico? You want to stay on Mexico here?
Mexico is fun, but we can do some earnings.
Yeah. Before we move on to that real fast, just other top exports besides cars, computers, and crude. Actually, those are the big 3. So never mind. So we covered the exports. We talked about avocados. Talked about Chipotle. Talked about the autos. Talked about Constellation Brands. Yeah, I mean those are the big ones on my list from Mexico. EWW is going to be the biggest ETF. We covered that already. All right, let's go to Uber here.
I know there was a few people saying that the Japanese car makers here are holding up well. It's not really the case. Toyota hasn't traded this morning, so it's offered down $1. So like somebody had mentioned that it's flat. It's not. It's offered down $1. Also, you've got Honda, HMC, which is trading down 2% now. I mean, they're holding up better than GM and Ford, but I just don't think there's any place to hide in anything auto right now.
Well, if Uber is an auto play, maybe you can hide there. Uber had earnings.
Yeah.
Uber had earnings, their first earnings report as a public company yesterday after the close, and it was, I guess, better than estimates. Q1 EPS was a miss of $2.26 versus a $1.46 estimate. A loss $2.26 versus a loss of $1.46. But their sales beat 3.09 was $3.08 billion. Trips for the first quarter 1.55 billion, up 36% on the year-over-year basis. Gross bookings at 14.6 billion, up 34% on a year-over-year basis. And they lost $1 billion, and the market likes it when companies lose $1 billion.
This market is so disconnected from really fundamentals as well. I mean, on some companies, whatever. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just stories. It's all about sentiment and stories. Uber's held up okay. I mean, really, when we look at the last couple of days, hasn't been making new lows. Let's see what it does today when the big money comes in. We have traded obviously significantly after hours and pre-market, but the real big money is going to come in at 9:30. Let's see what they do with it. But it's good that it's holding up. I mean, in this tape, it's amazing that it's holding up.
If they lost $2 billion, would they be up a buck?
Maybe they make more money. They don't care about how much money. This market, we've said it for years. They don't care about the bottom line. They care about the top line. They want to see revenue growth. That's what they want to see. I don't know why that is. That, all of a sudden the market, in the last couple of years doesn't care about the bottom line, but the top line is much more important. They want to see revenue growth, and they don't care. Maybe Amazon started this trend years ago, but that's all that matters to this market is the top line. So you're growing the top line significantly, you can stay high. If you start hurting, and that top line starts to hurt, that's when they smack them around.
I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Uber burned through $4 billion last quarter.
A cash burning machine. We don't know if it'll ever make.
How do you go through that amount of money?
But their revenues grew. How much did the revenues grow? Revenues probably grew though.
Yeah, the revenue, what I say was 3.09 billion, which is a slight beat on the estimate. So, yeah, it's growing, and their trips are growing, and their bookings are growing. The CEO did say on the conference call that they're going to be deploying fewer consumer promotions this quarter. The rates for Uber Eats are going to go up, as you would expect, because they have to make money somehow. So, I don't know.
Do they? Do they have to make money?
I guess not.
A lot of companies survive for a long time not making money in this market. Anyways, okay, it's got to hold yesterday's low. So if it starts to roll over with the overall market, let's see what it does at 39.5, and the day before was 39.14. That's the area. Below $39, this gets ugly. It's got to hold up above that.
Look at Triple D. Take a look at the daily chart on Uber. I know there's not a lot of information there.
Like 12 days or something. Yeah.
What do you think? What number do you think I'm gonna pull out here? Are we gonna be a good number? You're gonna use
42 on the upside.
One number. If you only had to use one number.
42 on the upside.
40.5. You had the all-time high on the opening at 45 even. You broke down to 36.08.
He's getting the fancy math going here. It's too early in the morning for math, Joel.
40.5 represents the 50% retracement of the break, right? And I think that you've been jogging around. You went up, you went below a little bit. If this thing can close above 40.5, and I'm not just going to say today, but, string a couple closes above 40.5, then I like it to the upside. If it can't hold 40.5 today, get a couple closes below it, I think we'll go down and test the low. And might be a stupid question here, but does Uber have any operations in Mexico?
I'm sure they do.
No, they probably do, because they're
everywhere.
They're the global player, so they probably do have some operations.
I don't think they're exporting though.
Yeah.
I think they're okay. I don't think they're
service.
Exactly.
It's a service, so I think they're safe.
Unless they're exporting Mexicans.
Did you guys want to cover the Gap, or should we go?
Is the Gap still a company?
Yeah, somehow.
Not for long, apparently. It's down 17%. Okay, continue. I hate the Gap forever. That's I've said this, and I've been wrong about it. Now I'm starting to actually finally be right. But I have hated this stock. And nothing against you if you work at the company or listen to it. That's fine. But I do not like the stock. So I stand corrected. I haven't hated the company. I hate the stock. And it's, got up multiple times over, I've hated it at 25, 30, 35, 30, 25, 20, 25, 30, 35, 30, 25. I've hated it this whole time. So anyways, now finally at 17. I know they got the Old Navy business that they were talking about. Did they ever do that spinoff? Oh, they were supposed to spin that off.
Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, they're still trying to figure that out anyways, because the legacy business is cooked when they spin that off. Anyways, this is just, I don't get it. I don't get why it's not like a single digit stock. I know I have a 5.62% dividend, but I think this is just, I just don't like this stock at all.
It's all about $17 here. Your pre-market low is 17.08. And then if you go back on your monthly chart, 17 even was your low in May of 2016. So that's what I'm going to give you, 17 pre-market low support. Obviously could break below it, but just going to the monthlies here, way back May 2016, 3 years ago, that stock hit $17 and probably hit it again today.
Remember last earnings season, we said every day there's a retailer up 20% or down 20%. Well, this earnings season seems to be the same thing. Gap has a good chance of being that down 20% stock there today. So if you're buying at 1737, I think you're wrong. I think it can go lower.
What would be the gainer? Is that Williams-Sonoma?
Yeah, well, Williams-Sonoma's having a good day. I don't think it's going up 20%. It's going to be hard to go up 20. That has to be one or the other, not both. Okay. So we already have a candidate to have a 20% move. On the Goose, we had a 30% move, obviously, which is crazy in itself. We'll get to that in a second. But Williams-Sonoma up 11%. It's having a good day. WSM. I'm not chasing anything, though. It's up. Not in this tape. I mean, it has worked, but, you know, and Target has held up very well after its earnings reports. And if you're going to buy something today, maybe you do look at something like a Burlington that actually held on okay. Maybe you look at your Dollar General or DLTR. If those pull back, if the market starts to turn, those will be the first ones that go back up. But even that being said, DLTR got up over $100 and gave back half the gains. So I don't know. It's hard to be a buyer of stocks that are gapping up 10% in a market that is selling everything.
You want to give us Williams-Sonoma report?
Sure. Numbers yesterday, Q1 adjusted EPS 81 cents versus a 69-cent estimate. Sales of 1.24 versus 1.23 billion dollars. So they beat both estimates in the first quarter. They also raised their fiscal year EPS guidance to a range of $4.55 to $4.75. And they announced a deal with the Golden State Warriors to be the furniture partner for their new arena.
Well, they should have went with the Raptors. Yeah. They chose the wrong team.
Right.
Anyways, Raptors win last night. Rah, rah. So, okay. That was my Canadian cheering there. And I'm actually usually not a fan of Toronto teams, but for some reason I'm going for the Raptors. So, anyways, I'm actually pissed.
Because you're a big fan of Drake, I bet.
No, actually, I'm just might as well get behind the team, right?
Williams-Sonoma here is trading up $5.91 at 57.50. Holding on to these gains after making a new low of the move on Wednesday. Almost coming 57.50 is your pre-market high. If this gets to 58.12 today, which it could easily do, man, that was a high back on April 24th. Also, you had another high in the 58 handle. That was up at 58.50. But, man, I don't know. Could this possibly, with the market trading down this much, end up the day up 11.5%?
Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see.
You know what? If you're looking for a play that's been in the gutter that is moves with sympathy with Williams-Sonoma is RH. I don't know why, but RH often moves with Williams-Sonoma. And it was trading up last night. It is trading down. Well, that's an odd lot traded down here this morning, but keep an eye on RH. So, you know, if it opens weak here with the overall market, that could be one that could get some life. If Williams-Sonoma starts to roll over, though, then all bets are off. But if Williams-Sonoma holds up, keep an eye on RH. Okay. That could be, look, we're trying to find you a bullish play here today.
Yeah, we're trying pretty hard here.
Oh, yeah, we're trying hard.
RH had a 2-for-1 stock split since the middle of last year, got over 160. Let's see, on the monthlies.
It's ugly. It's ugly. And I'm not saying this is a long-term play. Take the long-term investing hat off. The day trade. So, you know, just pure sympathy. Peers, you know, we're looking at stat arb here. So I'm saying if Williams-Sonoma is going to open up 10%, I think RH can go positive. You're not going to get 5% off RH, but maybe you can pick it up. Maybe it opens down and maybe it gets a little pop. Get a buck or two off it. That's for your day traders out there.
Hey, what about Disney trading down $1.55 on this? Getting into a real interesting area here.
It's held up well, though.
Yeah, 129.
Considering the market, Disney has held up pretty well.
Yeah.
There is a headline from Bloomberg this morning that Apple hired a former Disney Plus executive. So I don't know if there's any implications there.
Does Disney import anything from Mexico?
No.
No. We'll just say no. We'll just flat out say no.
Yes.
Anyways, down $1.50. This is 130. What's going to happen at 130? Even like, okay, JV spec, you might beat me too. Let's go look at the Disney book because I think there's probably some buyers at 130. Let's go check out the book.
You had a low one. You had a pair of lows, 3 lows. Actually, you had that big gap up day, and when everyone thought I was going to roll over, you put in 3 lows at the 129.50 area, and then after that, you fall into the gap area. So I don't know. This thing could be under 120. 117.85 fills the
I
gap.
will tell you there is 62,000 shares at the book at 130 to buy. So that's going to be your first stopping ground there. So if you're looking at Disney this morning, if it gets down to the lower 130s, I think it finds buyers.
Okay. What about Alta reported too, right?
Yes, it did.
All
All right, we'll give you those numbers. There's a few. Yeah, yesterday was like the last big push for earnings. So Ulta was yesterday, Costco as well. We'll do the Ulta number now. Q1 EPS $3.26 versus a $3.06 estimate. So that's a beat. Sales 1.74 versus $1.75 billion. So slight miss on that sales number. And any guidance that I'm seeing, they said fiscal year sales will increase in the low double digits.
Well, let's see here.
So many factors, market factors. You've got this. This was trading down last night on this numbers, wasn't it, Joel?
Yeah, I traded down to 310.01.
Okay, there's your number. That's a good one.
Yep. And for resistance, I mean, I'm sure if you get back to the parallels from Wednesday and Thursday, 321.82, 321.18, 321, we'll call that your major resistance. If you're waiting for a gap fill from the last earnings report, let's see, when did it had the big gap up day? What was the high the previous day? You're filling the gap from the last earnings report at 315.73. So interesting area, and you're 6 points off the low. So some buyers have already come in on this one. I don't think we're going to see that pre-market low at 310. This is a big windfall for anybody short to stock going into the report.
All right, well, let's do Costco real fast. They had earnings yesterday as well. Q3 EPS $2.05 versus a $1.82 estimate. Sales of 34.7 versus 34.67 billion dollars. So they beat on the EPS, beat on the sales. Comps up 5.5%.
Busiest store, always the busiest store. Would love as much as I dislike the Gap, I love Costco. But that being said, the stock has had a pretty big run this year. You know, if you really look, we're up like 50, 60 bucks from the beginning of the year. It's a big move. Well, I guess from the lows. If I'm going back to the December lows, we're up 50 points still from there. That's a big move for Costco. So
yeah,
I'd love it to get back it to 220 to buy this stock. At 237, the problem is you have a lot of like defensive stocks starting to roll over too, and if this market really starts to get ugly, I don't think there's any place to hide, and I think there's a lot of money hiding in a stock like Costco too. So I'm scared to buy it here. And
this had been holding up extremely well.
Really well.
Yeah, making a new all-time high just on May 22nd at 251.01. Trading near the lows of the pre-market session, which is 235.55. So we're $2 off that. I see a little bit more downside in this one today. First stopping point would be, let's see if I can find some good support. Let's call it 236. Where are we at? We're $1.50 away. Got 3 lows in that area from March. So we'll call that. That's $1.50 away. They have it down $5.50. If you're looking for a potential area to cover a short, not sure about nibbling on a long yet because, man, this thing is just, like I said, just made its new all-time high. So this one be something, someone even down $4. People are still sitting on a lot of profits in this one. We'll see if they come in today.
All right, 8:34 here. I want to bring on today's guest, Michael Sonnenshein. He was on our Bitcoin special December 2017. We did that, right? He's the director of business development at Grayscale Investments. They are the proprietors of the GBTC. And so I want to bring Michael on now. I believe he is with us. Give me 1 second to make sure he's here. Michael, can you hear me?
I can.
Hey, how's it going this morning?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since we spoke, and a lot has happened in Bitcoin. So we figured we'd get you on a Friday because we were talking about this for the past couple weeks. It seems like the biggest moves in Bitcoin happen over the weekend, and we have our own theories. But why have you observed that, and if so, why do you think that is?
So I wouldn't necessarily point to the weekend. I mean, I think from our perspective, we're just seeing so much interest from institutional investors. I forget the last time we had a chance to connect, but when I look back at 2018, my team raised almost $360 million in new investment last year, which was the strongest stretch of inflows we've ever had at Grayscale. That certainly tailed off towards the end of 2018, but we've seen a big rebound into Q1 with over probably about 70 some odd % of our inflows coming from institutions, and certainly a big focus on Bitcoin for them.
All right, let's talk about the just the overall relative performance of the GBTC. And when I look at it from a perspective where, you know, it had the all-time high here at 38.71, and then you had your low at way at 366. It looks like you got a rebound, but I mean, is this keeping up? You know, the relative strength of the GBTC. I know we've had a similar move off the low of the move, but compared to the high, I mean, just talk about the relative performance of GBTC versus actual Bitcoin.
Sure. Well, I think GBTC is really important for the investment community as a whole. For those listening in who aren't familiar with the product, GBTC is the only US-based Bitcoin investment vehicle. And so for a lot of investors, this is really one of the only ways that they can add exposure to Bitcoin inside their brokerage accounts, inside IRAs, and things of that nature. And, you know, most, if not all days, GBTC is one of the most liquid securities on the OTCQX market, where like Roche, Adidas, you know, a lot of the ADRs trade. So, you know, I think we've seen certainly increasing trading activity in GBTC over the last few months. And I think there's a couple of catalysts for that. One would certainly be the Bitcoin price and investors looking for options to gain exposure to Bitcoin. And again, giving investors the ability to gain Bitcoin exposure through a security is actually a really nice and familiar experience for them versus them having to figure out where to buy and transfer and, you know, keep Bitcoin safe on their own. So that's certainly, you know, one area why we're seeing investors go there. I think the other is, as you guys may have seen, Grayscale launched a national ad campaign about a month ago called #DropGold. And the messaging around this campaign has really been a call to action for investors to rethink and reallocate their portfolios and certainly take a deeper look at why they might have exposure to gold, and that perhaps it's now time to start considering other digital stores of value like Bitcoin.
Question, how is this structured? So I'm going to give you two questions, actually. One is, why is Grayscale Bitcoin, you know, and it's not an ETF, but how is it structured differently? Because we know the SEC isn't allowing Bitcoin ETFs. Why do they allow GBTC and not other Bitcoin ETFs?
Sure. So Grayscale Bitcoin Trust was launched in 2013 as a private placement. And in 2015, we got approval from FINRA to be able to quote seasoned shares of the private placement on the over-the-counter market. And so GBTC actually represents the secondary market for Grayscale Bitcoin Trust shares. And so it is not an ETF, and the prices at which it trades will always just be dictated by market forces.
And then do you hold physical, like how do you go in and you hold the physical Bitcoin? How do you keep that Bitcoin safe from like hackers? Because we see these headlines happen, and this is my concern, one of my major concerns, and why I don't, you know, hold any Bitcoin, and maybe, you know, it's a belief or a non-belief thing, but I would be scared holding in my own individual account because I do see that these hacks happen. Like everybody says it's safe, but you know, every other day we see some headline that somebody was hacked. and they stole a bunch of cryptocurrency from them. How does Grayscale keep their Bitcoin safe from hackers?
Sure. So we always leverage third-party custodians for all 10 products in the Grayscale family. And so I think an important distinction, certainly for your viewership, is that often the hacks that you see are transpiring on exchanges, which are really in the business of liquidity, versus custodians who are certainly in the business of custodying. And so we don't keep any client assets on exchanges or trade on exchanges. We are always leveraging custodians for the underlying Bitcoin that's inside the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC. And using custodians, that's one of the value propositions from the Grayscale perspective, is giving investors the ability to gain digital currency exposure through securities. Really a familiar experience to them, we hope.
So, last question for you, and I'll send it back to my partners there. But Grayscale Bitcoin GBTC closed 1163. That looks like a significant premium to your overall holdings. Why is it that the market gives us a premium?
So the price at which GBTC will be traded each day is really, again, subject to the market force.
Right, supply and demand.
Yeah, and although GBTC is an open-ended structure, the secondary market for it, GBTC, where it trades, it really acts more like a closed-end fund because there are no redemptions or destruction of shares. And so it really does become a function of supply and demand. I think it's also worth noting that we just got approval for the third product in the Grayscale family to join the public market. So GBTC is the public quotation for our Bitcoin product. ETCG is the public quotation for our Ethereum Classic product. And just last week, we announced that we got approval for ETHE, which will be the symbol for our third product, which is the Grayscale Ethereum Trust. And so you can start expecting to hopefully see some trades in those shares maybe as early as next week.
And what did you say the symbol is going to be? Oh, ETHE. All right. You guys had your Q1 report last month. Why don't you give us some of the highlights and the lowlights?
Sure. So I think when we look at Q1, as I said, things tailed off in terms of asset raising towards the end of 2018. But Q1 was a major, major turnaround. We had about $43 million of new investment during Q1, which was about a 42% increase in quarter-over-quarter inflows. It also marked, which I think is an important point, the first positive quarterly performance for several products in the Grayscale family, not just our Bitcoin product, but our digital large cap fund. And that's comparing them all the way back to the end of 2017, which was the last time that we had actually seen positive performance in some of those products. So certainly seeing an uptick in prices across digital currencies.
Michael, is there a direct correlation between the futures and GBTC and the price of Bitcoin? Is it all perfectly aligned, or is there some deviation?
So super hard for me to comment on that because we don't traffic in the futures directly. We definitely know of clients that use the CME Bitcoin futures to hedge, and certainly it's an important component to the overall development of the asset class. But given the fact that we're not dealing there, it's super hard for me to comment.
So is it used more, from what you've observed, is it used more as an investing vehicle or as a trading vehicle, or both?
The futures or GBTC?
No, GBTC.
From my perspective, certainly as an investing vehicle. I think that for many, certainly institutional investors and retail investors, the idea of figuring out where to buy Bitcoin and then how to transfer it and how to store it and keep it safe can be a harrowing experience. Not to mention, it also in many cases doesn't fit within the legal and regulatory framework that a lot of funds operate under. And on the contrary, buying a security like GBTC that has a QSIP, that's DTC eligible, that produces audited financial statements, that's really something that investors can wrap their heads around. And, I think that's one of the reasons we see GBTC being as liquid as it is.
And last one before I let you go, I know you keep your Bitcoin in cold storage. You don't store that in Mexico by chance, do you?
We do not. We do not store it.
All right, figured out. Of all days, today would be the day to ask that question. Good to know. Michael Sonnenshein is at Grayscale Investments, aka GBTC, which is what we've been talking about today. Michael, thanks for the time and have a good weekend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Take care, guys.
All right, 8:44 here, Joel. Anything?
We're getting. I mean, we're trying. We're trying to rally, Spencer. I mean, yeah, we're trying. 27.53.75 still stands as your pre-market low. Now we climbed a little bit into the 27.60 handle. We're just trying. Nothing major yet. Triple D. I mean, usually make pretty good relative comments here. I mean, I see that the SPOOs are down 1%, but man, I'm looking at a lot of stocks and they're down more than 1%. Is that
imbalances are not that heavy though, so it's not like there's major sellers, at least at this point in time. So, and I can give you a few of those. Alibaba is one that does have a pretty good sell amount, 68,000 shares. Twitter, 57,000 shares to sell. Bank of America, 139,000 to sell. G, 128,000 to sell. But there's, some sneaky ones like Bristol Myers, 88,000 to buy. And this can change significantly. Like IBM has a buy imbalance right now, a small one, 11,000 shares. But it doesn't look like selling across the board, at least from imbalance land. These things are going to change. Obviously, we're down significantly here, but I think you're seeing a little bit of a lift because at 8:30 we didn't see huge selling imbalances here. So the market isn't as spooked maybe as you think. I mean, you can go and you can look at the Fords and the GMs, and those obviously have significant, because that's kind of ground zero. GM's a buy imbalance right now. That's not going to last. Ford, 122,000 to sell. I can look at Lear, small. They're all small. So institutions, again, just not showing their hands here this early.
All right. Brent Hobbs says we got a lot of doom and gloom in here today, and I don't know. I think maybe he's looking at the very political ghoul YouTube chat here. I don't think are we being doom and gloom?
Well, it's just been a lot of negative stuff to talk about. So let's talk about something positive. We don't want to get all negative, Nancy.
Yeah,
on you. Right. Big lots. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Williams Sonoma. The big lots is the other one that's up big this morning, up 11%. BIG earnings this morning for them. EPS 92 cents versus 70 cent estimate, so a nice beat. Sales was a slight miss, 1.29 versus 1.3 billion dollars, but their Q2 EPS guidance was more or less in line, and their fiscal year guidance was raised. Actually, they raised
expectations were in the gutter for this thing. Big lots, and I actually contemplated going along into the report. I didn't, just because the chart was so ugly going in. I'm like, man, and we already saw a couple of discount retailers have okay quarters. This is kind of fits into that category of the Dollar Generals and Dollar Trees and Burlington stores. I mean, it's a discount retailer, and these have done well. This one went back on May the 10th, 20 days ago, 38 bucks, $26. This thing lost 14 points. I don't know, what is that, 40% in a matter of 20 days? Not even 20 like calendar days. So you're talking about like 16 trading days or 15 trading days. This thing was just everybody. Expectations were really low. So it's getting a lift here just because, and the guidance he said was actually raised. So, which is good news too. So not surprised that the stock is trading higher here this morning, despite the terrible tape that we're in, because expectations had to be really low with the stock chart looking like that going in.
Yeah, it's holding its gains, and I think with this one, I mean, I'm not inclined to buy stocks gapping up over 10%, up 274 at 28.75. But I will, Dennis, there's got to be a bid at like 20. Is there a bid there, big bid at like 28.20, 28 and a quarter? Because it is really holding that.
No, I don't see much.
No, you don't see it. It's probably a bit above it, but someone wants to buy there right now. So if I don't know how much you want to risk on a trade here, but 28.20 since the news came out, that's been holding up. So there's your support. As far as resistance goes, you're opening into your 3-day high. Well, you can see 29. We already did see 29 bucks. 29.04 is your 3-day high, and then 29.42, and then up at 30.5. But just right now, just looking at this chart and saying 28.20's got to hold, and I see this in the 30 handle.
Is that it for earnings?
I mean,
Dell and VMware both reported last night, and they both disappointed. So VMware, and obviously Dell owns a pile of VMware. So when VMware disappoints, Dell's probably going down no matter what. But then Dell reported, and they kind of disappointed there too. VMware is down $11. BMW, that's getting hit. Dell, I own in my long-term portfolio. I guess you just got to start selling stocks when you're up, because this is now giving back a lot of my gains here too. It's been a terrible investing environment this last month. No matter, it seems like what you have, you're getting hit. I mean, I guess that's what happens when the S&Ps are down 7% or 6 or 7% in a month. It's not going to look good in the investment portfolio, but holy cow, it seems like every time I have a stock that goes up, I look at it a week later and it's back down.
well, and also VMware had a buyback. They announced what was the number, 1.5?
Not big enough, apparently.
$1.5 billion buyback to go with their earnings beat for VMware, so not helping this morning. As far as analyst ratings, real quickly, there aren't too many that are super notable. The one that
Goose.
yeah, no, that was the one I'm going to bring up. Goose,
Yeah,
upgraded this morning from Goldman Sachs from neutral to buy. However,
I like this move.
they are lowering their price target from 65 to 47, but it's an upgrade to buy. So I guess they don't expect the price to go as high, but they're still saying you should buy the stock. I don't know.
you got a little double bottom in place,
Right,
33.53,
yeah.
33.58.
Yep.
I can see that. It was a decent a decent candle yesterday. So I mean, that's your line in the sand.
Yeah, and if you were covered, if you wanted to cover this thing on weakness, you had one day to do it. And that was, yesterday it showed a little bit of strength. I don't think you're going to get back down to that 33.5 area today, but that's your support. If you're looking at a swing trade, you don't mind paying up 26 cents here. At least you have an out here at 33.50. You got a big red bar to go through here, but I like this. I mean, you got to feel good as an analyst when you're sitting back on a stock and you follow it, and then it gets clobbered. And then you just go, hey, yeah, buy it now. I mean, I think that, that's what you want to see. You want to see, now.
Yeah, these contrarian calls.
Exactly.
Goldman makes bold calls like that. They are notorious for doing that. They do follow the herd. They all follow the herd to a certain extent, but it seems like Goldman always, come out and make a bold call, like go against the trend, and they can start their own trends. I mean, we talk about, the list of who's most influential out there, and I still firmly believe that nobody's more influential than Goldman.
And VMware, real quickly, we did go over the report. It's trading a lot. Let me give you a potential support number here in VMware. You did get under $100. You got to, way under, not under 100. I'm sorry.
What are you talking about?
200, under 200 here. Got to clean my glasses. 177.20 is your pre-market low. Not much traded that area. You're off $8 off that low. So I don't know. I don't think you're going to see that pre-market low. On the dailies, you might get a shot at 179.01. That was your low.
This has been leaking. This is a disappointing report that on a stock that has been, you just got to be careful buying stocks on disappointing reports. We've warned about this before, and it's a stock that had been performing very well. You probably have a lot of people still long this thing. I'm along the Dell, so indirectly, I guess I'm along some VMware here too. But I mean, I'd just be cautious. I'd be cautious coming in saying, okay, 180 is going to be the bottom, because it's going to pull a 3M on you, and it could be at like 160 in a couple of months. Who knows?
That hit 160 yesterday.
159. It goes down every day. 3M goes down every day. It's like the smoothest trend ever. If you're playing that short on that trend, it's just so smooth. It just continues to leak every single day. And Kraft Heinz, that trend isn't even smooth. That just in hard free fall now falls another buck yesterday just for fun. Gets upgraded here this morning. Catches an upgrade at Piper. It's still trading in the red. So they absolutely hate this stock. I'm so glad I don't own it. Sorry, Joel.
Okay, that's okay.
But anyways, I don't know what's going on. Like we tried to talk about it a couple days ago when the thing was at 30. Now it's at 27. I don't know what's going on. I mean, nobody's eating ketchup. Maybe it's the trends here. We've talked about that too, where people aren't, buying as much packaged food. I believe that.
ZS
packaged food
scaler that had some earnings too.
Yes, it did. After the bell yesterday, 5-cent beat a 1 cent estimate on the EPS. Their sales also beat 79 for $74.9 million, and their guidance was in line. This is a small one, but their guidance was in line.
This thing moves though. It's a mover. It hasn't moved here. This one's just down 64 cents. I don't know. This could go either way. This is coin flip territory, and it could be violent too. So just be careful. This thing can really move.
It went down to 65.21.
There you go. It's already come off those levels. So 65 is huge support down there.
Yeah. Yep. And nearly 300,000 shares traded on that bracket. So there was some major buying and selling going on. Down 64 cents here. I will use the close as resistance. And now that we're so far off that low, I'm sure people are looking at that 2-day low of 70.58. So that's still $2 away. Still holding up above yesterday's low, 71.55. Your close from yesterday, the market 72.99.
Nucor gets downgraded B of A to underperform. Not good for my portfolio. Again, I own NUE. That's the only stock I own. It's held up well, but it's starting to not hold up.
I told you to sell that one. You're like, oh, it's the best in breed.
When?
A while ago. You said
I guess I should have
when
sold
the X was getting killed.
I've had NUE in my portfolio for a decade. It's really hasn't been the best in breed because it's really gone nowhere in a decade, but it hasn't gone X either. So you look at the NUE chart. I mean, I don't know if we ever decide to build a wall or do something maybe, but I don't know. This is getting hit here too. The steel stocks are they're just awful. They're awful right now. It doesn't matter what steel stock you are. You can even go overseas and look at MT. I mean, all the steel stock. It is best in breed. NUE is best in breed. It's held up way better than any of the other ones, but even this one's starting to get hit.
And UE, let's see here. The X just traded down in the red again.
It's down every day. I said yesterday, egg on my face, because I thought eventually it was due for a bounce. It just continues to sell off. I saw it was due for a bounce at 12.50 yesterday. The thing's now at 11.82 next day. So I'm glad I didn't try to play it for a bounce, but I don't know if there's any bounce in sight on any of these things. Maybe $10. I don't know. Trend is your friend. Don't fight the trend. I was trying to fight the trend on that. You lose a lot of money fighting the trends.
I do see a trade this morning in CVGW, Calivo, which we talked about earlier. The thing 818, I see a trade. Yeah. So that one is trading down now. We can say that.
It was offered down. We knew it was going to be
Which one?
87.55. CVGW.
Play.
Back to our Mexico plays. We give you updates. Ford is trading down 3.7% now. General Motors down 4.7%. So a little rebound in a couple of these. Visteon doesn't trade, but is offered at 46.25 on 4 different exchanges. Delphi down 6%. American Axle down 5%. Lear is now trading down 4.5%. Magna International is down 4.6%. So across the board, not pretty for automakers today.
EWW come back a little bit as well.
Down 4.8%. What's the triple levered one? MEXX.
MEXX.
That's come back a little. It's 10 bid now, but still down 14%.
Yeah, very, very thin, but it is meant to be a trading vehicle. So you would think that today of all days, it'll be a little thicker, but we'll wait till the open for that. Any final thoughts, guys, as we kind of head into the weekend?
I don't know. Like, what's the tweak going to be over the weekend? What's going to happen? We got 2 tariff wars going here now. Long Bitcoin going into the weekend.
Actually, you know what? That brings up a good point.
I think. Where are we at on the Bitcoin price?
We're down 250 on the futures, 83.35.
Where are we at? 8,300?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, look, Dennis, we had 2 Bitcoin guests on this week. We had more Bitcoin guests in the last 3 days than we've had in the past 3 months.
It gets jacked on the weekend, so I don't want to ever be short Bitcoin going into a weekend. We've talked about this before. They seem to jack it up on the weekends. So if you're gonna play Bitcoin, long through the weekend.
All right, S&Ps. I mean, I'll just give it basis to pre-market trading, 27.53.75. If we can hold above that, the first 15, 20 minutes, I think we got a chance for a rebound here. Under 27.53.75, I'm looking for 27.41.25 here. On a rebound, I mean, you see this a lot too. I mean, when you have a big, down open or up open, you do get a retracement. And this one would take you up mid-range on the session would be 27.7250. So if you're trying to be a hero and, doing an early buy here, nice 10-point pop, and the Spooks could do that and snap your fingers. So that would be your resistance point at 27.7250. And my big number after the pre-market low is last number I have on the sheet is 27.41 in a quarter.
All right, one more. Beyond Meat not able to hold 100 this morning.
Yeah.
Where does it go today?
Oh, I got a Beyond Meat update.
You have a Beyond Meat update for us?
Yeah, I had their sausage last night.
I didn't know they made other products.
Yeah, I grilled it, and yeah, I grilled it. You got to watch them on the grill, man. They go really quickly, but I would say I'll stick with the Hebrew National.
Anyways, yeah, so it snuck its head up over 100, triggered anybody, you can get people suckered in through 100, and then it turned around and had a pretty ugly day. That being said, it's holding up fairly well considering this market is in shambles. I don't know. This thing can go anywhere. It just does whatever.
It does go anywhere.
It's almost impossible to call day today.
Yep, it is. Okay,
Spencer. All right. Yeah, on that note, that'll be it for this week's slate of shows. If you missed any part of today's show or any previous show you want to listen to, our full archives, they're available on our podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Podcast, or just rewatch the show on YouTube. Thanks to today's guest, Michael Sonnenschein. Thanks to all of you in our chat rooms, both the one on YouTube and the chat room on premarket.benzinga.com. That one is active throughout the day, even after the show ends. Please remember, all the information on our show is for informational purposes only, not meant to be investing advice. And the Benzinga Trading Summit, I guess after today, we can officially say it is this month. Coming up June 20th, New York City at the Sheraton Times Square. Go to bzprofit.com and enter the promo code PMP15. It's all caps, PMP15, to get 15% off any ticket, including to the exclusive trading lounge where Joel and Dennis and others will be walking through their trades in depth. So again, bzprofit.com for that.
We did miss an Amazon report here this morning.
We did.
Yeah, Amazon had talked about, I'm trying to just go grab the headline here, but AT&T and Verizon are down significantly.
Oh, yeah, they're going to buy Boost. Yep.
So yeah, so that's hitting AT&T and Verizon. So if you're wondering why AT&T and Verizon are getting really hit hard, I mean, when you see Verizon down 3%, that is a huge move because that trades like a bond. So Verizon's had a bad 3 days. It was $60, now it's $55. AT&T straight down here too. So who are they buying?
Well, they're interested in buying Boost. T-Mobile and Sprint have to sell Boost in order for their merger to go through. So,
and Amazon's sitting there saying, "Hey, we'll compete with AT&T and Verizon now too."
Yeah, basically.
Amazon just taking out everybody.
One by one. All right, that's it for us. Everyone have a good rest of your day. Have a good weekend. We will see you on Monday.